Noah Fant is a Bengal. We're gonna talk about this coming up next on the Cincinnati podcast.
Coming up on the Cincinnati podcast.
Hello, world. Cincinnati. You guys are the Yoshi creators, bro.
It's a new beginning. You know what that means, right?
But I know this, the whole NFL is scared of the Bengals.
Welcome to the Cincinnati podcast special edition, going live during the afternoon. That is why you need to make sure that you're subscribed to the Cincinnati podcast. Turn on those notification bells. I am Ace. He is M. Hude. What you say? It's looking like the Bengals get money. That's why we had to come on with the shades, the bucket hat. You know, the energy is crazy right now, Zim. How you feeling today, partner?
Hey, you see, I got the bucket on. If you're listening to the podcast, on any streaming platform, we appreciate you. I got the bucket on because I was like, instantly, I'm like, oh, we got to go to the pool. I need the frames. And I was like, with my sunglasses on, Ace pulled up with the sunnies on. We going crazy out here. It's Fant season. One thing I was just telling Ace, one thing you're not going to hear from me is a whole bunch of what we don't have. I understand there are some things that we got to fix on this roster, but we're going to make sure, or at least I know I am, I'm going to let you know about this. This is a big, big deal for me signing Noah Fant. So I feel really, really good. All my ops called me immediately. That's how you know. They called me immediately. You guys only care about offense. I'm like, no, you're only scared of our offense. So here we go. Let's get it. I'm really happy to get this going. We normally would do this, at our normal time about 9 p.m. generally, Monday and Wednesdays. Scheduling a little funny or whatever sometimes. So I saw a couple comments. We're gonna be a little bit more consistent. But when something big happens in the news like this, we're gonna make sure that we get you some content.
No, for sure. We're definitely going to make sure we get you some content. So let's get right into it, right? The Bengals signed Noah Fant. We talked about this on the shows. This is a huge deal. Like, a lot of people are out there talking about the narrative. Hey, what about the Bengals defense? Hey, what about the Bengals defense? There were several teams within the division, in my opinion, that made moves to try to counter the Bengals offense, right? So as much as they love to talk about how they've had our number, the Baltimore Ravens, in my opinion, clearly went into this offseason with a plan to try to keep up with the Bengals. And it makes sense because the Bengals offense tore them up this season. Like, those games were shootouts. They were not a situation where the Baltimore Ravens essentially stifled the Bengals offense. So what did they do? They went out this offseason, Jair Alexander. They went out and drafted some new safeties. They moved Kyle Hamilton around. Like, a lot of this is because the Bengals were able to retain Jamar Chase. They were able to retain T. Higgins. Jermaine Burton is an ascending talent. Yoshi is an ascending talent. It's hard to stop that. They ended up keeping Mike Gesicki, which a lot of people didn't expect them to do that. What an offseason the Bengals are having. Not only now do they have that, and don't forget Taj Brooks, right? The Bengals moved on from Zach Moss. That made sense. Make sure that they get some money back towards this Fant deal that we kind of talked about. And also they have Chase Brown. But now you bring another dimension that I think answers what Baltimore and maybe even Pittsburgh, them going out and getting a guy like Jalen Ramsey. Clearly, they're doing that because of what the Bengals have in their offensive arsenal. This gives them another dimension. And we saw this last year, especially when the Bengals went in some of those 12 personnel packages, some of those bigger packages where they used 2 to 3 tight ends. That was the first time we kind of saw it last year, right? And that's how guys like Eric All became a huge part of this offense. And I hear a lot of people out there saying, hey, they're not going to be able to use Noah Fant this much and that. You weren't paying attention last year because they used the Bengals tight ends a lot last year. And this is adding a different dimension where, okay, yeah, you can have Jair Alexander, you can have Jalen Ramsey, but can they line up with a tight end that's 6'5", 250 that can run, that's athletic, as Zim pointed out, the most athletic tight end that Joe Burrow has ever played with. And now he's got 2 of them. You got 2 guys that can really be receivers as tight ends. Mike Gesicki, who's really just a big slot, right? So you got Mike Gesicki and you have him. And guess what? You can play them at the same time. So now when you go into these red zone situations and you have a T. Higgins, you have Jamar Chase and all of these, that is something else that the defense has to be responsible for in terms of it. And that's what makes this offense so much more explosive. I know people are going to talk about, like Zim said, the offensive line and things like that. But these are other ways that weapons can be utilized within this offense in order to make the defense account for something else. The more that you make the defense account for, the more that they have to think, the more success the offense is going to have. This was the number one passing attack last year. You add another guy like Noah Fant into this offense, and I think that they're just going to take the roof off of any team that's going against them. I don't think anybody's going to be able to really stop them. Nobody could stop them last year. I don't see how they're going to stop them this year. Now that you have Fant, Higgins, Chase, Gesicki, like how do you stop this offense, bro? I don't. And that's why this was needed, because when you add this dimension, and it's super crazy, because I could say about a year or two ago, the Bengals literally had the worst tight end room in the NFL. Now they have one of the best tight end rooms in the NFL, because if you're looking at Drew Sample as a blocker, he's one of the best when it comes to that. You look at Mike Gesicki the year that he had last year. You look at Noah Fant, a guy that's had seasons where he's had 500, 600 yards, and now them combining, that room has gotten so much better that it's a huge upgrade, I feel like, for the Bengals. And before they did the whole 3 receiver thing, we saw them add that 12 and 11 last year. I can't wait to see what Dan Pitcher is going to do with it. What are your thoughts on breaking down the Noah Fant signing?
I think this is an incredible move. I think a lot of people are going to try to downplay this. For me, it answers so many different things. I've been asking for the last couple of years, whether it was Brock Bowers, before then it was Michael Mayer. So it's not because, and I think you got a glimpse of it last year with Eric All. You got to understand that the Bengals have to be multiple in every different, phase of the game, so that if they run into a different, obstacle that given week, Joe Burrow has the answers in his arsenal at every single point. And one thing that we identified in the 2022 AFC Championship game, when Tyler Boyd went out, they had no second tight end that could go inline. Fast forward, we get to 2024. Eric All is now there, but he gets injured. Even Eric All, for his blocking grade, isn't amazing. What he did in a lot of those plays, like I remember a big Chase Brown play or whatever, people have to understand, and they're not going to understand unless you're listening to the Cincinnati Pod or you're listening to really good football minds like a guy, shout out to our guy Joe Goodberry, shout out to all these guys that understand. It's not really about the name for Noah Fant on this one. It's about how he can change the offense, where teams, if they see Drew Sample in line, you're allowed as a linebacker to still rush the passer. You're still allowed to go and take the under on the wide receiver. You're able to take the hook on that. You're able to go drop back in the coverage, all these different things. If you have that ability, if Drew Sample's in line in the scheme, if Noah Fant's in line, especially in the red zone, there is no answer for that, because you have to respect his ability to catch the football, and then you also have no tail in the run game. That is very important. Whether you feel as though he's a substantial blocker or not, you could go look at his pass blocking grades, his run blocking grades versus Eric All's. They're very similar. It's the threat. Just like playing like a team like Josh Allen or Lamar or something, the threat of the run opens up the pass. Now the Bengals are implementing this is their secret weapon. The Tanner Hudson couldn't do what I'm saying. He could line up like that, but he's not blocking. He's not a threat to block. Now in the run game, you don't know what you're going to get. I posted a clip last week of Noah Fant getting a good block or getting a good chip. It started on him, and then he carried the block out to a guy in the flat. On the strength of this guy was still in the play that I'm referencing. He's trying to catch up with he's trying to make sure that Fant doesn't go out for a pass first. That in tune opened up the running back to bounce the run outside. He gets a 15-yard run. That is it's a small detail, but it's a major key that the Bengals haven't had. And then my final point is when they get into the red zone, there is no stopping the Bengals. You got the Yoshi contested catch, improvising Joe Burrow that we've seen. Chase Brown coming out the backfield. You got Noah Fant in line, right? And then you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside. It's that to me, the red zone package of the Bengals. I don't know if the Bengals will be a number 1, number 2, number 3 offense. I don't know. They should be number 1. There is no way that the Bengals walk out of the season and are not the number 1 most efficient red zone team in the NFL. There is no answer for them. There is no answer for the Bengals red zone package. And to me, if you can get that ball down the field, which they will, I think that this opens up the floodgates for it. And I was talking about this with Ace before we came on. I do understand that there are going to be some teams where your offense just isn't clicking. And or some games that it just might not be clicking. We saw that last year in the Giants game. We saw that last year in the Browns game, certain things like that. We'll talk about the defense in a second. But I think throughout the season, as we go from phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4, which we break down the season into, you're going to see that the Bengals, if your team can't score, like even if the game ends up being 24-21, if your team doesn't score on a regular 24-plus points, it's going to be a tough Sunday for everybody that we play. Does that mean the Bengals are going to go undefeated? No. But it makes it so that all the teams that we play offensively have to be efficient. They have to be on point because now Joe Burrow is not – he at most, what 3 games under 24? 3-4 games under 24 that you might get if you got a real top-notch defense. But what is your offense going to do to combat that? And we saw that last year, teams like the Chargers that had a pretty efficient offense, or teams like the Ravens or whatever, like those are 3 games that we can outline right there alone where they were forced to score 30-plus points. And if you don't have that ability to do that, I just don't think this is the most effective offense I've seen the Bengals probably roll out maybe ever. On paper, I would say we don't know what it's going to do yet because they haven't lined up, but all the pieces, and you were breaking this down for me too before we went on. Dan Pitcher, year 2. Like, that's a thing, and that's a real thing that now he's getting the tools of what he needs. I wanted to ask you this. I've seen AJ Green. I've seen –
happy birthday to AJ Green, by the way.
Happy birthday, AJ Green. I've seen Ocho Cinco. I've seen all these different things. On paper, is this the most complete offense you've ever seen from a Bengals team? I was thinking about this earlier.
I think honestly, it's up there, right? Just off of first listen, without any research, without even thinking about it, I think that it is, because when you look at it, you already have Jamar and T, right? That already makes them special, right? But you're talking about them, not only having them, but them in their prime. They're still young. This isn't a 30-year-old T. This isn't a 30-year-old Jamar. You have them in their prime, right? Then you have Mike Gesicki, whose resurgence within Cincinnati has been there. Then you also have 2 emerging guys, which you've already seen in limited capacity. A guy like Andre Yoshivas, fan of the show, do his thing, 5 touchdowns in some instances. He's going into year 3 now. Jermaine Burton going into year 2, seeming like he's starting to emerge. So you really have 4 legit wide receivers that you don't have to really worry about that are explosive. Really 5 if you count Gesicki, right? And then you also have on your bench a guy like Charlie Jones, right? Like, I'm not saying that Charlie Jones is going to do much, but you still have him as like your backup third receiver. Then when you look at it, you got the 2 tight ends now that we talked about. Both of them are starting caliber. Both could start for any team. To me, I said it on the one show, I think this is the biggest depth that the Bengals have had at tight end since Jermaine Gresham and Tyler Eifert. And that was only for a season, right? And that was when Tyler Eifert was a rookie. These are 2 veterans that you already know are established. It really reminds me a lot of the Indianapolis Colts back in the day. They got the receivers. You also had the running backs. So get to the running backs, right? Chase Brown, Taj Brooks, don't sleep on him. I know he was a later pick, but there's a reason why I feel like they cut Zach Moss, because they feel like Taj Brooks is a guy, which we've seen in camp, him working with some of the earlier teams. He's a guy that can be someone. Then you look at the offensive line, you've got 2 monsters at offensive tackle, Amarius Mims, You got Orlando Brown Jr. Now, this is what I will say. Some of those 05 teams, some of those 2015 teams, I might give them the edge on the offensive line. Definitely 2005, because that was crazy, right? You talk about Willie,
Right.
Andrew Whitworth, Steinbeck, and guys like that. But I think that I think the tackles that we have are like right after Willie and Andrew Whitworth in terms of the two tackles that we have. I think the two tackles that we have now are better than the 2010s era Bengals, any two tackles that we had at that point, for sure.
Is it fair to say this, though? Without even going through, like, not even making this a rocket science situation. In 2015, the quarterback alone, Joe Burrow versus Andy Dalton.
I mean, that's not even close.
You see what I'm saying? So that alone, I'm not trying to go through. We could go through it through a fine tooth, but that alone, the most important position in football is quarterback. The quarterback is 2 times the quarterback it was in 2015. Even though I understand Dalton was playing at a really high level in 2015, so that washes it. To me, I would maybe put it up against 2005, or you had to put it up against like 88 or something like that. Like, to me, 2015 would wash. 2005, Carson Palmer was playing at a very, very high level. And I think Joe Burrow's still better, but, you know, like that's not really a conversation, I guess, as much. Yeah. But the offensive line, you know, but the tackles, like you're saying, I think
I'm taking Orlando Brown and Amarius Mims over anyone not named Willie Anderson and Andrew Whitworth.
And to me, that's the bigger key. I think Fairchild is unknown. Volson's, you know what I'm saying? It's like that's the weakness.
Yeah.
But and you could point that out. But bro, the wide
if Fairchild is what we think he is, and so far he's been somewhat solid, right? The biggest weakness is right guard, right? Like, that's where it's that revolving kind of, we're not sure if Cody Ford is the guy. We're not sure if Lucas Patrick is the guy. This is where we feel like we need more competition. Don't forget, they got Seth back now too at the center position. So him and Ted Karras together. Obviously, Ted is the starter, but then you also added Matt Lee to that mix. It's really the right guard position, bro. And it's really the depth after it, like you're saying, when it comes down to that. But I just think overall,
Steinbeck and Bobby Williams.
Oh yeah, 2005. It's not close. 2005 is easily the best. And then you had Richie Brom as well. So like, all 5 of those guys were good on that Bengals offensive line back then. I think this line, as it stands right now, could rival what we had with the 2010s Bengals. 2010s Bengals, you're talking about Big Witt, you're talking about Andre Smith. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, I love Witt. Obviously, Witt's a GOAT, but the talent, the ceiling, the build of having 2 6'8", 350 guys, Orlando Brown Jr., a Pro Bowler that's in his prime right now, like, and Amarius Mims, a guy that could potentially become one of the best right tackles in the league in a few years. I mean, the potential is there, and I'm not just speaking off of the potential. We saw him blank Myles Garrett last year. So like, let's keep it a buck now. Like, he blanked Myles Garrett last year when it came down to it. The potential of that, I just feel like the ceiling is like crazy, bro.
I'm gonna tell you, I think Orlando Brown Jr. playing for the Bengals is the reason why people don't really respect Orlando Brown Jr. A 4-time Pro Bowler. He's not 30, Super Bowl champion. If he put, like, and I get it, last year, you remember he was playing at an all-pro level before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And I had somebody in the comments, because this is the thing on Twitter. I want y'all to comment in the comment section, which I think it is, or in the YouTube after the video, comment on this. This is a fun debate that's going on Twitter right now. Is on your team, who are your 5 best players? And somebody put it out there for like the Giants, and of course they didn't have their quarterback on the list. And I was looking at the Bengals. Yeah, I don't think our roster is like, I think our roster is maybe fringe top 10. You know what I mean? When you start the unknowns of the defense and everything like that. But we're so top heavy with our top 5 with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, T. Higgins, and then I said Orlando Brown, right? I would take that 5 against any team in the NFL, that vibe. And people were like, well, you could change our Orlando Brown for Chase Brown. You could change our Orlando Brown for Logan Wilson. But bro, Orlando Brown, to me, I'm not saying this because he's a friend of the show or anything like that. I think Orlando Brown, if he weren't on the Bengals, he would get a lot more pup than what he does. He was playing at an all-pro level. Another thing, and I was telling Orlando this when we interviewed him. If y'all haven't checked that out, it was about 3-4 weeks ago now. Check it out. I was telling him because they dropped back so much, it's not going to make his numbers look good. If I got 50 reps versus the tackle that play like Rosengarten that plays for the Ravens, they're dropping back like 20-something times a game. Bengals dropping back like 40 times a game. If he has one bad rep, it's going to give him a bad score. But one thing that he was doing last year was he wasn't getting any pressures. I went back and looked at this. His first, I think, 4 weeks of the season, he didn't even give up a pressure, and he didn't give up a sack. Then he hurts his leg. He has a break in his fibula or whatever, but he plays on it. But my main point is, like, Orlando Brown is maybe the most underrated player on our whole entire team. Yeah. And for whatever reason, as soon as he put on a Bengal uniform, people don't look at him the same way. And to me, he's still a top 10 tackle in the National Football League. And I mean, and he's not at 10. He's like a little bit close. So then when you start looking at 2005, Levi Jones, and then, and Willie on the other side and stuff like that, I understand the conversation. I understand the nostalgia, and I understand how good Willie is. But Orlando Brown and Mims are not chopped liver. And I just think that, like, our offense and then the depth behind it at the wide receiver position on all of this is just really insane. And I always compare it to the greatest show on turf, where you have Isaac Hakeem as like a wide receiver 3. You got Ricky Prohl, and he got all these guys behind it. And then you had Marshall Faulk at running back, which would be like, Chase Brown. I know Chase Brown is not Marshall Faulk. But then you got Joe Burrow, you know what I mean? And so this offense is very potent. I think the Noah Fant signing and TJ Slayton signing, like those two right there. I know Gesicki is a big signing to me. That's not a small contract. It's almost $30 million. But to me, the Fant one is going to open up so many more possibilities because Gesicki, like you talked about, you line him up in the slot, he's like a big wide receiver. I think Noah Fant just opens up the run game. He opens up the possibilities, and I've said this, and I'm beating this like a dead horse, is that red zone package. I just don't know a team that's offering that in a red zone. Yoshi has 10 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like most teams, wide receiver 1 doesn't have that. Now you're adding Noah Fant to that? That's nuts. And then you look at Burton in the camp, and you like, nobody really, like, bro, like nobody really could check him. And every team that has to play the Bengals, I don't care how good you think your secondary is. You have to play singled up with Yoshi. You got to play single up with Fant. You got to play single up with Gesicki. You got to single up with Chase Brown because you can't go a whole 4 quarters a lot. Like there's nobody on earth that's stupid enough not to go cover 2 or give safety help on T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So once you line up, every week, your game plan, you're trying to hype up your nickel corner. You're trying to hype up your linebacker because you have to play Yoshi, Chase Brown, Gesicki, and now Noah Fant. You have to play them one-on-one. There's no way around it. And if you think you're about to go one-on-one just because you have a quote-unquote really good corner or something like that, go ask the Ravens how that went last year with Jamar Chase. Go ask any team that dared try to single up with them, whatever. The Bengals, the best matchup the Bengals had was like the Browns. The Bengals have won 4 out of the last 5 games against the Browns. And that's probably one of the best secondaries you'll probably see, right? So you got to understand these teams that are thinking that they can stop and do all this stuff. Not only do you have to stop Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and your fans will walk out of it and be like, we kept them under 100 yards. But what about Chase Brown? What about Gesicki? What about all these different things? And then on the opposite side of the field, did your quarterback score 24 plus points? That's the main question. Everybody keeps on talking about defense. Okay, say you stop the Bengals. Are you scoring 24 plus points? And that's the thing to me that like really sticks out to me in an offensive driven league. Every single year when we get to the final 4 teams in football, go look at the Commanders versus the Eagles, Chiefs, and Bills. Every single year, it's always the top scoring teams in the National Football League in the final 4, final 6, final 8 of football. And so dismissing the Bengals, which is going to be a top 3 offense in the NFL, should be one. is a big mistake.
You know what else is a big mistake? Hey Sam, how are you guys you're gonna get cooked on defense? You're gonna have the worst defense in the NFL. You guys are not gonna like, bro. Let's come back down to planet Earth. All right, it's fine for you to have those takes before training camp and stuff like that starts. It's even fine for you to have them during training camp, but at least be paying attention to what's going on in training camp, and that's gonna segue me into the next one. We talk about how good this offense is. The defense, as we were talking, has won 2 days in a row at training camp. Juan Drago's coming off, who was having and struggling, is coming off of a 5-pass deflection day. Shamar Stewart starting to settle in on this defensive line. The biggest thing and the biggest factor is Al Golden is utilizing these pieces that the Bengals have way different than what Lou was the year prior. Now we have more athleticism on the D-line. This guy is using NASCAR packages where he's lining up guys that play on the edge, guys with athleticism inside, guys outside. Trey Hendrickson is now back at camp. These are key differences that he's giving this defense and allowing them to be able to call the plays. A lot of people don't know Lou did not let guys really run the defense. He ran the defense. They followed what he said. Al Golden's approach is a little different. He gives the players more of the decision-making, more of the checks, more of these things, and we're seeing that it is making this defense play extremely better. We're seeing them have moments where they're able to contain Joe Burrow in this offense, which is super explosive. We're seeing aspects with, obviously, with it just being pilot practices and it being limited, we're seeing them still be able to get to the quarterback. This defense is looking like it's going to be better. And the only thing that we've asked for on this podcast, at least I've asked for, is that they be a top 20 unit. Right now, obviously, we have to see what they look like in preseason. But even preseason, I can't really say that because a lot of things are vanilla. But right now, if you're just talking off of getting to where the ball is, being in position, not giving up wide open plays, not giving up explosive plays, and training camp, this team has been there. They look like they have a different energy than what they had in years past. They look like they're more sure of themselves. The confidence, the swagger is back. They talked about it, the Santa Clara standard, right? For those who don't know, Al Golden has implemented something called the Santa Clara standard. The Super Bowl is in Santa Clara, so the standard is that. If this defense gives them anything more than what they got last year, this team is the sky's the limit for this team. And a lot of people talk about 2021, and everybody talks about, oh, Joe rode the coattails of that which he didn't, because, I mean, the man got sacked 9 times in the game, almost threw for 400 yards, and put them in a position to win the game. Nobody had ever done that, by the way. But even if you wanted to say that the Bengals defense was good, that defense was ranked in the 20s. That was not some Baltimore Raven top 5. Like, we don't have the Lamar Jackson top 10 defenses over here, and we don't need them to win in the playoffs. So if this team can put together a unit that, dare I say, is 18, 17, bro, the NFL is in trouble if that happens. I'm just gonna say it right now. If Jordan Battle is doing his thing, a lot of these guys on defense are showing up. If they start to turn the corner, this defense is gonna be a problem, bro. They're gonna be a problem because if they can generate turnovers, right, if they can give opportunities back, and I think more importantly, you kind of talked about it when we were talking before the show. If they just don't allow people to score, you can give up yards and all of that. But if they can't score, and you know what's funny, bro, that you say that, that's what the 2021 defense was. You just couldn't score on them. When the Bengals went 3 and out and the offense wasn't consistent, you got to think about that too. The offense wasn't consistent back then when we went to the Super Bowl. But what helped them so much is when the offense came out inconsistent and they had 3 and outs and they had punts, the defense will hold them to 3, or the defense will hold them to a 3 and out, or somebody would get an interception out of nowhere. That's all we need. Right. We don't need no Bronco. We don't need that because we got Joe Burrow and we had this offense. And if this defense plays with the swag and with the fortitude that they're playing right now, with the confidence, the sky is the limit. What are your thoughts on the defense? Because a lot of people are talking about, oh, every time we make an offensive move, oh, well, what are they going to do on defense? If you're paying attention on Twitter, all the tweets from the analysts, you could fact check me and all that. Go look at the Bengals training camp updates. They're all about the defense. They're all about how the defense is flying around. But what are your thoughts, bro, on the defense?
I feel like the people that are saying that about the defense, especially even Bengals fans are, I'm probably guilty of this too, but especially like our main ops, the reason why they're taking time, like think about this. The people that if they're commenting like, what about the defense and they're from another team? Think about it. Me and you, have you gone on a Browns podcast in the comment section, in the Steelers comment section, Ravens comment, like Chiefs comment? Have you been in there commenting on like what you think about their offense or defense?
No.
Because they're not a threat. You don't think about them at all. You're like, man, I don't really care what they do. It's really about the Bengals staying healthy and just being available, right? So people talk about our defense because it's a coping mechanism for not talking about the offense. None of these people that are saying that about the defense, if I try to pay you to talk about the offense, they don't want to talk about the offense because they know that their team doesn't have that offense. They don't have that firepower. So they try to go and pick the defensive part of it. But as you talked about too, and we talked about this off air, I think Al Golden is going to be it is a major hire anyway. For somebody to come in with the number one defense from college for Notre Dame, and then the Bengals sign it, that's a big signing that people aren't giving credit to. Just like I talked about Gesicki and TJ Slade. Anything the Bengals do, it's like it flies under the radar. I remember when Jamar Chase and T got signed, I was like, bro, it's about to go crazy. It was really just Bengals fans. Like on ESPN and all that stuff like that, they was talking about CeeDee Lamb and all these other people like that. I'm like, we should sign two dudes. Like, so everything that we do is under the radar. Everything that we're saying about the defense, it's not even that you're not gassing anything up by saying, yeah, I expect a little bit more. And when you start giving context to why the Bengals were poor last year, it's a lot to do with guys that were playing that had no business playing. It also, just like any other team, Bengals are not exclusive to this, but they just had a rash of injuries, especially up front on the defensive line. Then both the corners go out. In the overall, scheme of things, I don't come to a conversation talking about the defense like, well, we're going to be better because everybody got injuries. So that's not what I'm saying. But I am making sure that people do know the context behind why the Bengals were in some of those spots. And then when you start looking at like Demetrius Knight making a play today, you're like, bro, when's the last time we had a linebacker that was like super instinctive, that was coming through and hitting people like at a high level? Like, I respect everything that Pratt did. He was a playmaker though. He wasn't really like the Roquan like enforcer. And the more and more I watch Knight, his aggression levels, you don't know how good he's going to be. I just think that and then the whole thing that the defense is doing, you can't go to free agency. Like when people say, what about the defense? Even if you're a Ravens fan, all of those players are from good drafts. They didn't go to free agency and get, like, what was their big sign in the offseason? D-Hop or something like that? Like, so, right? Like, we wouldn't even sign D-Hop.
Offense or defense?
Offense or defense?
Jair is probably their big one.
It still was like a $2-4 million deal.
Wasn't a bunch of money. No,
it wasn't. So it's like a low level signing with a high. It has a high risk, but it also has a good reward if the guy's there, right?
Right.
But that it isn't like a multi-year big signing. Went to free agent. Like, they don't sign guys like that. Like, so this notion that the Bengals are like cheap. Like, Bengals signed TJ Slayton for like 7.5 for 2. BJ Hill signed a pretty large sign. Like, that was a big deal that he signed. Everything that we do, nobody really gives us credit for, is the point. And when a lot of these teams that don't do anything in free agency, they rely on the draft, and they draft better. And I'll give them that, right? But the Bengals, you can't say that the Bengals are just rolling out like 5th and 6th and 7th rounders either. The Bengals are taking a first-round edge in Myles Murphy. They're taking another first-round edge in Shamar Stewart. They're taking a first-round safety in Dax Hill. They're taking a second-round corner in DJ Turner. They're taking another second-round one in Cam Taylor-Britt. These are all high-level picks, first and second round. So, like, the defense is loaded up with all those. You got multiple Pro Bowl guy and Logan Wilson, right? So it's not like we're pulling this out the hat. And then the icing on the cake is this. In 2021, and 2022, the Bengals were the 17th and the 22nd ranked highest defense in the NFL or whatever, right? So it's not a top 10 defense. In back-to-back years, they go to AFC championship games. So this notion that they have to be top 10 with a Joe Burrow is foolish. It's just coping mechanisms for teams that don't want to talk about the Bengals offense. Because if I go through your team with a fine-tooth comb, I'm gonna find a bunch of there's some unknowns on your team too. There's guys that you drafted that you believe in. There's going to be guys that are getting a little bit older in the tooth. There's going to be guys that are coming off injury. There's going to be nobody's defense is that perfect. And if you think that your ranking from last year now magically carries over, it doesn't work that way. And so we're all in this clean slate thing, and it's all looking at variables and whatever. But I'm telling you right now, the corners, the guys like DJ Ivy and Newton, all these dudes like that, them playing, those guys are really good. And I think that they will have roles on a lot of different teams in the NFL. It's up to the coaching staff, and it's up to guys like the offense putting up a lot of points to give these guys the best position to go succeed.
For sure. I agree completely, wholeheartedly with you. Trey Hendrickson is also back at camp now. So I think that to me points to a resolution has to be somewhat close, right? Him coming back. Obviously, he doesn't want the $50,000 fines, but he's coming back. He's giving Shamar Stewart advice, very similar to what he said he wants to do. Said he wants to be a captain, wants to be a leader. But that's dope. I mean, seeing Trey back in the fold, that's the last domino that has to fall. I think that the Bengals could get something done. We talked about them being not too far off, so we'll see where that goes. But also, make sure you guys let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. Make sure that you like, subscribe, follow the @Cincinnati Pod on Twitter. Follow me at New Stripe City. Follow Zim at Zim Hude. This has been the Cincinnati Pod. Before we get out of here, we're going to leave y'all with our good fellas at Midwest Best Barbecue.
Uno wings, G-Funk wings, and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. It's the AC to the Zim, M to the B's. Uno wings, G-Funk wings, and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Say what up to Jordan Battle. We be going to battle. Intercepting balls like CTV did on Seattle. Putting 6 up on AZ. Juice gang amazing. Make sure you come get these wings. The Zimby stay blazing. And T-Game be smooth as ice. Jamal making DBs fold. TV got big levels. And now you already know. It's so pretty for Uno wings. Cam got the new wings. We call them CTBs. Only at MBs. H to the Zim. M to the B's.
Shout out Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. Make sure you stop in there and let them know Ace and Zim sent you. Make sure you get some of those 5s or those T's. Make sure that you get some of that brisket. They got it all there at Midwest Best Barbecue. And it's lunchtime. Why not pull up on Midwest and go and get you some wings? But it looks like we got a couple of super chats here. Hippie Profit, $5. Appreciate that. Says Fant is the newest acolyte in the Chapel of Nine. The weight of the ops hearsay will stay their feet, as well as the nineism that transcends the league. Who they guys?
This is one of my disciples right here. I be on Twitter talking that nineism and just to believe. So man, I really appreciate this one right here. This is like right down when I drink my coffee, bro. That nineism starts flowing through my brain. I don't think the man you catch me in the morning time and drinking coffee or something. I swear to goodness, I feel like this is maybe what people felt like Coke in the 80s or something. You can't tell me the Bengals gonna lose a game when I'm on one. So I definitely subscribe to nineism, bro. I think that this season, this is an all season for the ages if they can sign Trey Hendrickson. If when this show is over, which I do believe is gonna happen. When this show is over, please make sure y'all flood the comment section. We got 2,000 people in here live. We appreciate everybody on Twitter. Make sure y'all come over to YouTube, Cincinnati Pod, subscribe, cut alerts on, because when the trade deal gets done, we'll pop right on. We'll do a special show for you guys. But we're here to make sure that we kind of are a beacon or a different voice for you guys, and we kind of take what you guys are saying and use all of these different elements and add it to our show. which I think is very unique, where it's not just about me and Ace's opinion. We feel as though we're more of a reflection of you. So make sure after the show is over, you comment. You tell me a better all season than Trey Hendrickson, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase getting signed in one all season. Mike Gesicki, BJ Hill, all that too. But
Noah Fant.
Noah Fant.
No.
Who?
Noah Fant. No.
What? Noah Fant. What team? Who has ever signed 3 top 20, 3 top 10 players in one all season? Who? What's that team?
I don't know, bro. That sounds like only one to me.
If somebody know the team, y'all gotta let me know. I've never seen it, or I just don't remember it. So y'all let me know. This is Cincinnati Pod. You rocking with the best.
Yes, sir. Ski.
Coming up on the Cincinnati Podcast.
Hello, world. Cincinnati.
You guys are the Yoshi creators, bro.
It's a new beginning. You know what that means, right?
But I know this, the whole NFL is scared of the Bengals.